Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're digging deep into the world of some of nature's most underappreciated superstars. They're slimy, they're wiggly, and they're absolutely essential to the health of our planet. That's right, we're talking about worms. Get ready to have your mind blown by these incredible, soil-dwelling architects. Let's start with the basics. When most of us think of a worm, we're probably picturing the common earthworm, a member of the polychaetes subclass. But the term worm is incredibly broad, covering a vast and diverse group of animals with long, soft, limbless bodies. They exist in almost every habitat on Earth, from the deepest oceans to the highest mountains, and even inside other living creatures as parasites. There are over 1 million species of worms estimated to exist, though scientists have only formally described a fraction of them. They range in size from microscopic nematodes, invisible to the naked eye, to the colossal African giant earthworm, which can stretch over 6 feet long. Imagine pulling that out of your garden. Despite this diversity, they all share a simple body plan, lacking complex sensory organs like eyes and ears. Instead, they navigate their world through an exquisite sense of touch and an ability to detect light, vibrations, and chemical signals in their environment. Now, let's talk about anatomy, because it's genuinely bizarre and fascinating. An earthworm's body is a masterclass in minimalist design. It's essentially a tube within a tube. The outer tube is the body wall, made of muscle segments, and the inner tube is the digestive tract, running straight from the mouth to the anus. They don't have lungs or a respiratory system like we do. Instead, they breathe directly through their moist skin. This is why worms need to stay damp. If their skin dries out, they suffocate. This is also why you often see them stranded on sidewalks after a heavy rain. They come to the surface to avoid drowning in waterlogged soil, but if they can't get back to a moist environment before the sun comes out, they're in big trouble. Their circulatory system is also unique. While they do have blood, it's pumped not by a single heart, but by a series of 5 muscular arches, often referred to as aortic arches, or pseudohearts. These structures wrap around the esophagus and contract to push blood throughout the body, delivering oxygen and nutrients. One of the most famous and mind-bending facts about worms is their incredible ability to regenerate. If you've ever heard the old tale that cutting a worm in half creates 2 new worms, well, it's partially true, but with some very important caveats. It depends entirely on the species of worm and where the cut is made. For many common earthworms, if it's cut in half, the head segment may be able to survive and regenerate a new tail, as long as it retains a crucial organ called the clitellum. That's the thicker, lighter-colored band you see on a mature worm. This band contains the reproductive organs and is vital for regeneration. The tail section, however, is almost always a goner. It can't regrow a head or a brain, and it will eventually wither and die. Some species, like certain types of flatworms called planarians, have taken regeneration to an extreme level. You can chop a planarian into hundreds of tiny pieces, and astonishingly, each tiny fragment has the potential to regrow into a complete, fully functional worm. Scientists are studying these worms intensely, hoping to unlock the secrets of their cellular regeneration for potential applications in human medicine. Let's get into their love lives, which are just as unconventional as the rest of their biology. Most earthworms are hermaphrodites, meaning each individual worm possesses both male and female reproductive organs. However, they don't typically self-fertilize. Mating is still a 2-worm affair. When 2 worms decide it's time to reproduce, they line up alongside each other, facing opposite directions in a position that looks a bit like the number 69. They press their bodies together and exchange sperm, which is stored in special sacs. After they separate, the clitellum, that saddle-like band, gets to work. It secretes a mucus ring that slides forward along the worm's body. As it moves, it picks up the worm's own eggs and the stored sperm from its partner. The ring then slips off the worm's head and seals itself, forming a tiny, lemon-shaped cocoon. This cocoon is left behind in the soil, protecting the developing baby worms. Depending on the species and environmental conditions, anywhere from 1 to 20 baby worms will hatch from a single cocoon after a few weeks, emerging as miniature versions of their parents, ready to start their life of munching and tunneling. Perhaps the most important role worms play is that of ecosystem engineers. Charles Darwin himself was famously obsessed with them, spending decades studying their behavior and concluding that It may be doubted whether there are many other animals which have played so important a part in the history of the world. He wasn't exaggerating. Earthworms are nature's ultimate recyclers and soil conditioners. As they burrow through the earth, they create a network of tunnels that aerate the soil, allowing oxygen and water to penetrate deep down to plant roots. This process, known as bioturbation, is crucial for healthy plant growth. But their greatest contribution comes from their diet. Worms are detritivores, meaning they eat decaying organic matter like dead leaves, roots, and microorganisms. They are essentially soil-making machines. They pull this organic material down from the surface and digest it. What comes out the other end is what we call worm castings, or vermicast. This is not just worm poop, it's black gold for gardeners. Castings are incredibly rich in nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, all in a form that plants can easily absorb. They also contain beneficial microbes that help protect plants from diseases. A single acre of healthy farmland can contain over 1 million earthworms, collectively processing several tons of soil and organic matter each year. Without them, our soils would be compacted, nutrient-poor, and far less fertile. But not all worms are benevolent gardeners. The world of worms has a dark side, and it's populated by a host of parasitic species that can cause serious problems for humans, animals, and plants. Tapeworms, for example, are intestinal parasites that can infect a wide range of hosts, including us. They have a horrifyingly effective body plan, consisting of a head, called a scolex, armed with hooks and suckers to anchor itself to the intestinal wall, followed by a long chain of reproductive segments called proglottids. They absorb nutrients directly from their host's digested food and can grow to staggering lengths inside the body. Another infamous group is the roundworms, or nematodes. While many nematodes are free-living and beneficial, some are notorious parasites. The Ascaris roundworm can cause ascariasis in humans, while heartworm is a deadly threat to dogs and cats. Then, there are the filarial worms transmitted by mosquitoes, which can cause devastating diseases like elephantiasis and river blindness. These parasitic worms have evolved complex life cycles, often involving multiple hosts, to ensure their survival and propagation, making them incredibly difficult to eradicate. Let's end on a lighter and slightly weirder note. Worms have found their way into some unexpected corners of human culture and technology. For instance, worm charming, or worm grunting, is a real activity and even a competitive sport in some parts of the world. Practitioners use various techniques, like driving a vibrating stake into the ground to mimic the sound of a digging mole, which is a primary predator of worms. This vibration scares the worms, causing them to flee to the surface where they can be collected, often for fish bait. There are even World Worm Charming Championships held annually in England. In the world of technology, scientists are developing soft robots inspired by the movement of worms. These robots, made from flexible materials, can squirm and inch their way through tight, complex spaces where rigid robots can't go. They could one day be used for search and rescue operations in collapsed buildings, for internal medical procedures, or for inspecting pipelines from the inside. It just goes to show that even the humblest of creatures can provide inspiration for cutting-edge innovation. So there you have it, a whirlwind tour of the weird and wonderful world of worms. They are so much more than just fish bait or garden creepy crawlies. They are master regenerators, complex reproducers, and the silent, tireless guardians of our soil's health. From Darwin's garden to the forefront of robotics, the influence of the humble worm is truly profound. The next time you see one wiggling on the pavement after a rainstorm, maybe give it a little nudge back onto the grass. It's a small thank you for all the hard work they do, mostly unseen, right beneath our feet. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.